Hey, my blue parrots! Today's episode is a big one. Taeyang finally gets his dream job, but Ryan is keeping a secret. That might change everything. I hope you are ready for the drama.
Taehyung practically floated up the stairs to their apartment. He didn't even use his key. He knocked on the door with a rhythmic, happy beat. When Yn opened it, she was surprised to see him home so early and even more surprised to see him without his work bag and covered in a light sheen of sweat, but with a smile that could light up the entire city. Tae, why are you back? Did something happen? Did that manager, Taehyung, I got it, Yn. He interrupted, his voice thick with emotion. Taehyung, I got the job at Clain Enterprises, and I quit the park. I'm never putting on that bear suit again. Yn froze, her eyes widening as the words sank in. Then, the tears started. They weren't sad tears. They were huge, fat drops of pure relief and joy. She let out a sob and threw her arms around his neck, burying her face in his shoulder. Yn, I knew it. I knew you could do it, she cried, her voice muffled by his shirt. Taehyung laughed, lifting her off her feet and spinning her around in their small living room. When he set her down, she didn't stop. She cupped his face with both hands and began to shower him with love. She kissed his forehead, then his nose, then both of his cheeks. She kissed his eyelids and his chin, her lips moving frantically all over his face. Yn, you're amazing. Kiss, I'm so proud of you. Kiss, my hard-working, brilliant husband. Double kiss. Taehyung was blushing furiously, his boxy grin never fading as he let her pepper him with affection. Finally, she pulled back just an inch, her face glowing. Yn, wait, she whispered, her hands moving down to rest on her prominent baby bump. We have to tell them. Taehyung knelt down on the floor so his face was level with her stomach. He leaned in close, his voice turning into a soft, protective rumble that always made the babies move. Hey, twinkle, hey, sparkle, he whispered, pressing a gentle kiss to the fabric of her shirt. Your appa had a big day. I'm going to be working in a big office now. No more scary bears. I'm going to make sure you to have everything you ever need. Just keep growing healthy for me, okay? Yn, they heard you. She laughed through her tears, placing her hands over his. Taehyung looked up at her, his heart fuller than it had ever been. They were young, and they still had a long way to go. But for the first time, the future didn't look like a struggle, it looked like a beautiful, bright adventure. Monday morning felt like the beginning of a brand new life. Taehyung arrived at the university with a spring in his step, wearing a crisp button-down shirt instead of his usual tired hoodie. He found Circe near the greenhouse and walked straight up to her, his face glowing. Taehyung, Circe, I got the official email. I start today. I can't thank you enough for believing in me and introducing me to your father. In a moment of pure, unfiltered joy, Taehyung pulled her into a warm, friendly hug. He didn't mean anything romantic by it, it was just the gratitude of a friend whose life had been changed. But for Circe, the world seemed to stop, her heart skipped several beats, and the scent of his cologne made her lightheaded. As he pulled away with a bright smile, the hope inside her heart grew into something much deeper and more dangerous. In another campus, Yn was practically glowing. She sat at a table with Rex and Annie, her hands resting proudly on her bump. Yn, Taehyung started at Clain Enterprises today. He's an executive correspondent. No more theme park. No more late nights. Annie, oh my god, Yn, that's incredible. Working for the Clains is a dream. Rex, I told you he was smart. That guy belongs in an office, not a costume. I'm really happy for you both. Noah was sitting right there, trying to look cool, but inside he was burning with jealousy. He had spent the whole weekend thinking of ways to call Taehyung poor, and now the man was working for the most powerful company in the country. Noah, with a fake, strained smile. Clain Enterprises? That's quite a jump for a mascot. I'm so happy for him. Yn didn't even look at Noah. She turned her back slightly, completely ignoring his existence. After the way he treated Annie and Taehyung at lunch, she had no room for him in her life. Noah gripped his coffee cup so hard his knuckles turned white, his eyes darkening as he watchedYn's happiness. Throughout her afternoon classes, Yn was on her best behavior. She sat in the front row, kept her lips sealed, and didn't even glance at her phone. She was determined to avoid detention at all costs because she didn't want to miss a single second of Taehyung's big moment. When the final bell rang, she sprinted to the gate. Taehyung was waiting there, looking handsome and nervous. They traveled to the massive Clain headquarters together, standing before the towering glass building. They looked like two kids about to enter a palace. Taehyung reached down and grabbed Yen's hand, his fingers lacing firmly with hers. Taehyung, ready, Mrs. Kim? Yen, more than ready. They walked into the lobby hand in hand. They weren't there as high-powered executives, but as a young, hard-working couple. Yen felt a lump in her throat as she watched Taehyung approach the sleek reception desk. Taehyung, hello, I'm Kim Taehyung. I'm here to collect my joining letter for the Executive Correspondence Department. The receptionist checked her computer and smiled. Yes, Mr. Kim, we've been expecting you. Here is your official letter and your employee ID for building access. Taehyung took the envelope with a steady hand. He opened it right there in the lobby, showing Yen the official Clain logo and his name printed in bold letters. Yen squeezed his arm, her eyes tearing up again. It wasn't just a piece of paper, it was their ticket to a safer, better life for their family. The receptionist offered a professional smile. Mr. Kim, the manager is expecting you on the 10th floor to explain your workflow and the security protocols for the remote access. You can head up now. Taehyung felt a wave of nerves hit him. He turned to Yen, leading her to a plush designer leather couch in the corner of the grand lobby. Taehyung, wait for me here, okay? I'll try to be quick. I'm actually a little bit shaking. Yen took his hand and gave it a firm, encouraging squeeze. She looked into his eyes with so much belief that he felt his heart steady. Yen, don't be nervous, Tae. You're the smartest person I know. Just go in there and show them why they hired you. I'll be right here waiting for my hero. Taehyung exhaled, kissed her forehead, and walked toward the high-tech elevators. After 5 minutes, the silence of the lobby started to feel heavy. Yen stood up and began to wander around, admiring the indoor fountains and the polished marble floors that were so shiny she could see her reflection. As she rounded a large pillar near the VIP waiting area, she spotted a familiar figure slumped in a deep armchair. He was wearing a stylish tracksuit, looking completely out of place, and was yawning so wide his eyes were watering. Yen, brightly, no practice today? Jungkook nearly jumped out of his seat, his eyes snapping open. He looked at her in total shock, his cool mask slipping for a split second. Jungkook, are you following me? Seriously? Are you a stalker? Yen, giggling in your dreams. Jungkook, my husband works here now. Today is his joining day. Jungkook, leaning back, trying to look unimpressed. Right. I almost forgot you're married. Still feels weird. Yen, so, what are you doing here? Don't you have baseball practice? The team must be missing their star player. Jungkook, I have practice, but my dad forced me to come with him. He said since this is the biggest company in the country, if I just sit here, I might absorb some business sense, but honestly, I'm just getting bored. It's all suits and silence. Yen, then you should just go back to your field. You look like a fish out of water here. Jungkook, I wish. I can't leave until he's done. He's inside in a high-level meeting with the head of the company, Mr. Chain. Yen, you mean Mr. Clain? Jungkook, yeah, whatever his name is, I don't care. All I know is if I stay here for 5 more minutes, I might actually die of boredom. There isn't even a snack bar in this lobby. Yen laughed, sitting on the edge of the table near his chair. For the first time, Jungkook didn't look at her with arrogance. He looked at her like a fellow prisoner of a boring afternoon. Yen leaned in, a mischievous glint in her eyes, and whispered so the security guards wouldn't hear. Yen, I saw an arcade on the opposite side of the road before coming here. Wanna go? Jungkook's face lit up instantly, his eyes widening like a kid being offered candy. But then, he hesitated, glancing nervously toward the executive elevators. Jungkook, but what about my dad? If he comes out and sees I'm gone, he'll kill me. He's already on my back about responsibility. Yen, don't worry, let's just ask. She marched back over to the receptionist, with Jungkook trailing behind her like a tall, confused shadow. After a quick, polite inquiry, Yen turned back to him with a triumphant grin. Yen, she says the meeting is scheduled for another 45 minutes, and your dad hasn't even started the final presentation yet. We have time. Jungkook didn't need to be told twice. They slipped out of the giant glass doors and bolted across the street like they were escaping prison. Yen texted Taehyung that she's going to the nearby arcade in case he come back before her. The arcade was loud, filled with neon lights and the sounds of digital explosions, a complete 180 from the silent, stuffy lobby. For the next half hour, The arrogant prince of Arcade University disappeared. They played air hockey, where Jungkook tried to be professional but Y or N ended up winning by distractedly chatting while he focused. Then they moved to the racing simulators. Jungkook gripped the plastic steering wheel with the same intensity he used on the baseball field, laughing loudly when YN's virtual car crashed into a digital palm tree. Jungkook, you're a terrible driver. Stick to walking. YN, hey, the steering wheel is sticky. I want a rematch. They moved to the basketball hoops, and for the first time, Jungkook was genuinely impressed seeing her steady hand, sinking baskets one after another. For the first time in his life, Jungkook felt normal. He didn't have to act arrogant. He didn't have to worry about his father's expectations or his status at university. YRN didn't treat him like a rich heir or a star athlete. She treated him like a friend who was just as bored as she was. He found himself laughing, not a smirk, but a real, boyish laugh. As they walked back toward the office building, sharing a bag of popcorn they'd bought with arcade tickets, Jungkook looked at her sideways. Jungkook, you're actually pretty cool. YRN. Most girls just talk to me because they want to be seen with me. You just wanted to play Mario Kart. YN. Well, Mario Kart is more interesting than your ego, Jungkook. They reached the lobby just in time. Jungkook quickly took his seat, trying to look bored again, while YRN hurried back to her couch, her heart racing from the fun. 10 minutes later, the elevator dived back down to the lobby, and Taehyung stepped out. He looked lighter, more confident, and relieved. Taehyung, I'm so sorry. I made you wait for so long. YRN, a mischievous glint in her eyes. Nope, it was actually pretty fun. Taehyung, fun, in a lobby? He frowned in total confusion. YN just giggled at his response, her mood still high from the arcade. YN, let's walk home. I'll tell you everything on the way. By the way, how was your first day? Did you understand your work? Or did you get another rude manager like last time? Taehyung, the manager was actually very kind and polite. He explained everything so nicely. It's a completely different world here. YN, that's such a relief. Now let's go, I'm hungry. She pouted, making him smile instantly. They walked out of the office hand in hand, the evening breeze cooling their faces. YN, so, when will you officially start? Taehyung, from tonight. YN, tonight. Taehyung, yep, since I can do most of the work from home, I just have to check their emails and draft responses for them. I only have to report to the office twice a week. YRN, wow, that means you'll be home with me almost all day. Taehyung, you could say that. Now tell me, what fun did you have sitting in that lobby instead of getting bored? YN giggled again, her eyes sparkling. YRN, actually, she was suddenly interrupted by the loud buzzing of Taehyung's phone. He pulled it out and checked the screen. Taehyung, oh, it's Sirs, he answered immediately, his voice taking on a warm, friendly tone. Taehyung, hey Sirs, from the other end, how was your first day at the office? Mr. Kim. Taehyung, it was very exciting. I was so nervous at first, but everything went smoothly. I just got my joining letter. Sirs, laugh softly. I think I deserve a treat for this. Taehyung, you definitely do. Miss Clain, just name the place. He continued talking to her with a bright, wide smile, letting out a soft laugh every now and then, even though he was still holding YN's hand as they walked. YN felt completely invisible. The conversation felt too easy, too familiar. After about 5 minutes, Taehyung finally ended the call. Taehyung, sighing happily. Sirs is so nice and funny. I'm lucky she's my partner. He turned his head toward YN, finally focusing back on her. Taehyung, so, what were you saying? About your fun afternoon? YN, nothing. Her tone was sharp and cold. The bright smile from before was gone, replaced by a deep frown and an angry pout. Before Taehyung could react, she yanked her hand out of his grip and stormed ahead, her pace quick and agitated. Taehyung stood frozen on the sidewalk, tilting his head in pure confusion. He looked at his empty hand and then at her retreating back. Taehyung, YN, hey, wait, did I say something wrong? Taehyung stood frozen for a few seconds, staring at his empty hand as YN's silhouette grew smaller in the distance. He had to jog a little to catch up to her, his long strides finally bringing him alongside her, but she refused to even look at him. By the time they reached the apartment, the silence was heavy enough to suffocate. YN kicked off her shoes and headed straight for the kitchen, making a loud clatter with the plates. Taehyung, YN, talk to me. Are you upset because of the call? I was just thanking her. Y or N, spinning around, her eyes flashing. Oh, were you? Because it sounded more like you were planning a date. Just name the place, Miss Clain. You're so funny, sirs. She mimicked his voice with a dramatic, high-pitched tone, was standing right there. Taehyung, you didn't even notice when I almost tripped over a crack in the sidewalk because you were too busy laughing at her jokes. Taehyung blinked, realization finally dawning on him. A small suppressed smile tugged at the corner of his lips. Taehyung, are you jealous of sirs? YN, I am not jealous. I am hungry and ignored. There's a difference. Taehyung walked over, closing the distance between them. Y or N tried to turn away, but he gently placed his hands on the counter on either side of her, effectively trapping her in a warm embrace without even touching her. The familiar scent of his cologne mixed with the faint smell of the new office filled her senses. Taehyung, Y or N, look at me. She stubbornly looked at a spot on his chest. He leaned down, his voice dropping to that deep, velvety register that always made her knees weak. Taehyung, I only have one heart, and it's currently being held hostage by a very grumpy, very beautiful girl and two tiny babies. Sirs is just a friend who helped me get a job so I can give you the world. That treat I promised, it's just a way to be polite. But you get my whole life. He reached out and gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, his fingers lingering on her cheek. Taehyung, I'm sorry I made you feel ignored. I was just so excited about the job that I forgot to show you how much I appreciate you being there. Forgive me. YN tried to keep her pout, but his puppy eyes were too much to handle. She let out a long, dramatic sigh and leaned her forehead against his chest. Y or N, fine, but if she calls you Tae one more time, I'm going to tell her that only I get to use that name. Taehyung chuckled, pulling her into a tight hug and kissing the top of her head. Taehyung, deal. Now, since I'm officially a corporate man now, how about I cook dinner for my favorite girl? YN, but change your clothes first. You're smelling like sweat. Taehyung started chopping vegetables for their dinner, but his movements were a bit more deliberate than usual. He kept glancing at YN, who was singing while setting the table. Taehyung, you know YN, I saw the text you sent me while I was with the manager. Y or N froze, her hand hovering over a fork. Her heart did a little somersault. Y or N, oh, you did. Taehyung, yeah, you said you were going to an arcade across the street. It actually made me really anxious, baby. This is a big city, and we're still new here. You're carrying the twins. What if you'd tripped, or gotten lost, or if someone had bothered you? You shouldn't wander off to places like that alone. He turned to her, his expression a mix of protective husband and worried father-to-be. YN, gulping, I just got so bored, Tae, and it was right across the street. I stayed very close to the entrance, I promise. She felt a pang of guilt. If he was this worried about her being alone, he would blow a fuse if he knew she was actually playing air hockey with the uni's most notorious athlete. She decided right then and there to slide the matter. Y or N, I'm sorry for worrying you. I didn't stay long anyway. The noise was a bit much, so I came back to the lobby pretty quickly. Taehyung sighed, his shoulders relaxing as he walked over to pull her into a hug. Taehyung, just tell me next time, okay? I don't care about the work if you're not safe, nothing else matters. The weight of the secret. Sorry, Tae, she thought, but if I tell you I spend an hour with a guy who has a tattoo on his hand and a baseball jacket, you'll never let me out of the house again. Tuesday morning at the college was bustling. Y or N was walking toward her locker when she saw a tall figure leaning against the wall. It was Jungkook. He was ignoring the group of girls trying to get his attention, his eyes scanning the crowd until they landed on her. Jungkook, hey, arcade girl. YN stopped, looking around to make sure no one was watching. Y or N, Jungkook, shh, don't call me that here. Jungkook, smirking, stepping closer. Y, scared your husband will find out you're better at basketball than he is. YN, he just worries a lot, and for your information, he's very busy with his new job. You shouldn't even be talking to me. Aren't you supposed to be cool and unreachable? Jungkook, I'm plenty cool. I just wanted to say, thanks for yesterday. It didn't suck as much as I thought it would. YN raise an eyebrow. YN, is that the only reason you came all the way to my college? Jungkook, actually, no, I have other business here. He looked around as if searching for someone. Suddenly, he spotted his target. Jungkook, see you later, arcade girl. He walked away, leaving YN confused. She watched as Jungkook approached a boy and dropped a heavy hand on his shoulder. The boy flinched violently, looking absolutely terrified. Meanwhile, at Arcade University, Circe approached Taehyung during their break. Circe, so, when am I going to get my treat, Tae? Taehyung looked at her with a warm smile. Taehyung, whenever you say. Circe, how about tomorrow, after classes? Taehyung, tomorrow. Well, sure, why not? Later that day, Yn was almost dozing off in the library when Annie ran toward her, panting heavily. Annie, Yn, Yn. Yn flinched, her eyes wide. Yn, what happened? Earthquake. Oh no, this old building is going to collapse. Let's run, Annie. No, Yn, something even more terrible. Yn, what? Is the building on fire? Annie, no, our college is under attack by the mafia. Yn, WHAD. Oh no, we're going to die, my poor babies. I'm so sorry mommy can't show you the world. Let me call my husband one last time. Rex, calmly closing his book. Are you done with the drama? I don't understand why girls always overthink things. Annie, how can you stay so calm, Rex? We're under attack. Rex, dude, it's just a few tattooed boys from Arcade University. They're on campus fighting with our baseball team for some reason. Yn, wait, tattooed guys from Arcade. Rex, yep, Yn. Oh no, I think I know who that is. She bolted out of the library. Annie and Rex chased after her, screaming about the risk to the babies. But Yn didn't stop until she reached the field. Outside, the scene was chaotic. Jungkook was brutally beating the college baseball captain while his friends fought the rest of the team. Jungkook, how dare you cheat? You bribed the referee in the last match just so your low-budget school could win against Arcade. I let it slide then, but you shameless bastards tried to match fix again. I'll kill you today. He raised a fist to punch the half-fainting boy, but Yn rushed forward and grabbed his arm. Yn, Jungkook, stop. Violence isn't the solution. Jungkook, it is when they cheat. Yn, then complain to the authorities. Jungkook, that's boring. Not my style. Yn, whispering beating someone is dangerous. What if they complain to your dad? Jungkook's face went pale. Yn smiled secretly knowing she hit the right nerve. Jungkook, then what will I do? Yn, give them interesting punishment. Make them your servant for a whole week. Jungkook's face lit up. He looked at the boys and shouted. Jungkook, I'll let you go, but you all have to work as my servants for a whole month. The boys nodded frantically and scrambled away. Yn, I said 1 week. Jungkook, no, that's too easy. The dean, who was watching everything from the start, get a little courage and walked towards them. He cleared his throat and said in a strict tone. Dean, Ms. Yn, who's this boy? Yn, he's my friend, sir. Dead. Friend? A friend from Arcade University who beat our baseball boys. Yn, sir, it was just Dean. Enough. I don't want to hear any explanation. Jungkook, you should be glad that I didn't beat you instead, old man. The dean gulped but pretended to stay strict. Dean, Ms. Yn, bring your guardian to my official tomorrow. Saying that, he quickly left.Yn's face turned pale. Annie and Rex run to him. Annie, wow, Yn, you have such cool friends. Yn, shut up. You have no idea what I got myself into. Dean said to bring guardian. My husband is going to kill me. Jungkook, standing behind her, felt a pang of guilt before quietly slipping away. After classes, Yn and Taehyung was walking back home hand in hand. Both were incredibly nervous for different reasons. Taehyung, Yn, let's have lunch at a restaurant tomorrow. Yn, startled, why so sudden? Taehyung, confessing actually, Circe wanted a treat after classes, and I agreed. Yn felt relief more than anger and jealousy, cause as Taehyung go out with Circe, he won't be able to come and pick Yn from the college and she'll manage the dean saying her husband is super busy. Yn, that's wonderful. You should go. Taehyung, you're coming with us, of course. Yn, no, I don't want to be a third wheel. She laughed awkwardly, leaving Taehyung confused. He tilted his head thinking she's saying this out of anger. The whole evening Yn doesn't talk with Taehyung much as she's afraid and nervous. On the other hand, Taehyung thought she's super angry with him. Taehyung, Yn, if you want I can tell Circe. No. Yn, no, don't. I mean that poor girl will feel sad, she said and turned off the lights before laying down. The next morning, Taehyung tried again. Taehyung, Yn, I'll be at your college gate after class. We'll go to a nice restaurant, and I'll introduce you to Circe. Yn, no, it's okay. Just enjoy yourself. She grabbed her bag and hurried out, leaving Taehyung sighing in her wake. Wire N take her books from her locker and turn around just to bump with Jungkook. Jungkook, hey arcade girl. YN, ugh, you again. You caused enough trouble yesterday. Jungkook, that's why I'm here to fix it. I'm going to dress up as an old businessman and pretend to be your father for the dean. Look, I brought the costumes. His servants, the baseball players, stood behind him holding bags filled with a gray wig and a fake beard. Before Wire N could even process the ridiculous plan, she felt a presence behind her, a very familiar, very protective presence. She turned around to see Taehyung standing there, his eyes narrowing as they shifted from Y or N to Jungkook. The air suddenly turned icy. Taehyung, coldly, is there a problem here? Jungkook. Jungkook's smirk vanished instantly. He straightened up, his eyes flashing with the old rivalry.